Welcome back. This last episode goes deep on healthy aging, but it's not fluffy.
We end with the practical stuff: recomposition, sugar mechanics, VO2 max, bone density, and menopause.
The biggest mic drop for me was the weight is not the win, composition is.
I love that, but I also want people to stop worshiping the scale entirely.
She basically argued that pure calorie restriction can wreck muscle and then metabolism. Wild.
Right, lose muscle, you lose glucose disposal capacity, then the yo-yo returns as fat.
The part where she said 80% of regained weight is fat, ouch.
People hate hearing, you didn't just diet, you dismantled your engine.
That recomposing frame is genius, though. Fat down, muscle up while aging.
Also, it's extremely motivating when it becomes clothes fit better, not numbers go lower.
Muscle is nature's Spanx. She didn't even whisper that line.
And then she drags the audience back to discipline without pretending it's magical.
The Ronaldo versus some guy from my club comparison was so real, though.
I mean, genetics and team environment matter, but discipline is still the lever.
She listed the fundamentals: recovery, monitored nutrition, monitored conditioning.
It's basically athlete-level feedback loops: sleep, training response, nutrition timing.
Which is great until normal humans ask, where do I buy a full-time chef?
Exactly, but her point wasn't copy professionals, it was remove randomness.
The sugar breakdown was intense. Simple carbs spike. Insulin can't clear it fast enough. Store as fat.
The science narrative was coherent, but the bigger takeaway was behavioral. Sugar is the hardest cut.
She kept saying patients do everything else, then sugar is where excuses show up.
Because it's not just willpower, it's dopamine and reward pathways asking for the hit.
I sugar detoxed, and the fourth day I stared into my cupboard like an existential movie.
That imagery is terrifyingly relatable for people who like cookies.
Then she tied it to temporal disconnect. Like banking, you don't care about the future you.
Yep, and she offered a counter move. Make the reward immediate, not 20 years later.
I loved her make walking feel like a badass logic. Train for the feeling today.
But it's also self-worth, right? Do I believe I deserve daily health investment?
She said it like, until you value yourself, nothing else matters. And that hits.
And you know what? That connects to the compounding idea you always push. Tiny inputs, big outcomes.
Yeah, the I'll start at 50 or 60 mindset gets roasted by compounding math.
It's the same psychology as investing. Waiting doesn't turn into action automatically.
The conversation about vitamin D was interesting too. Test, supplement, recheck.
And she basically framed it as hormone-ish: bones, immunity, brain, whole system effects.
I liked that she didn't say everyone megadose. She said measure and maintain.
Then the bone part: DEXA scans, T-scores, osteopenia versus osteoporosis. She made it understandable.
The Frax index was the detail I didn't know. Lifestyle risk plus prior fractures equals future fracture risk.
Translation: you don't get to ignore it and hope it goes away.
And the impact exercise predicts bone density finding: running, volleyball, basketball versus swimming.
I can already hear people saying, but I hate impact, like that's a neutrino problem.
The numbers from her master's athlete study were wild. Significant slowing not until mid-70s.
Mid-70s? That's basically stop panicking at 50 if you actually stay active.
And she used performance times as the aging biomarker, not just mood or vibes.
The cellular clotho and muscle contraction story, exercise signaling longevity protein, made it click for me.
Then she goes full sci-fi with the old lady mice treadmill cost $30,000.
That's when you believe the science. She's like, yes, we bought the treadmill for the grant.
The stem cell bit was the fountain of youth intervention framing. Skeletal muscle contraction rejuvenating satellite cells.
It's a strong argument for strength training as biology, not just aesthetics.
Then she ties it to the VO2 max fragility line concept. Frailty risk, independence, oxygen exchange capacity.
I'm cautious with percent charts, but the core idea is valid. Cardio capacity predicts functional aging.
Also, torture test VO2 max is the most honest medical description ever.
And the practical VO2 protocol: 4 minutes hard, 4 minutes easy, repeat 3 times. No one can pretend it's impossible.
But it's the once you've optimized the basics, add this framing that matters.
because otherwise people just chase hacks while skipping muscle, mobility, and nutrition.
The menopause musculoskeletal syndrome segment was intense. 80% of women affected, 25% devastated.
She nailed the estrogen receptor concept: inflammation, muscle protein synthesis, bone remodeling, cartilage maintenance.
And frozen shoulder as estrogen loss-linked inflammation, plus the bra test hook.
That hook your bra joke sounded silly, but it communicated the internal rotation loss perfectly.
Her big remedy checklist was estrogen decision with evidence, lift heavy for mobility, zone 2 base plus short sprints.
I liked that she emphasized lift as heavy as your bones will let you, not injure yourself aggressively.
And the nutrition, protein targets, leucine-driven mTOR, fiber-filled carbs, eliminate simple sugar.
Plus the continuous glucose monitor anecdote, simple carbs spiking her to 165 even with sensitivity.
I can't even look at a simple carb is the kind of data flex that feels like therapy.
It's also permission to personalize, measure what spikes you, then build around it.
The most foundational idea was her 97-year-old vision. Choose who you want to be, not what you want today.
That's why discipline worked for her. Strong why, plus reduced friction, plus immediate enjoyment.
So the gym isn't a punishment. It's the investment that makes you feel good afterward.
And then she drops the final layer, uncomfortable risk, leaving comfort and building private practice and businesses.
That part was inspiring because it wasn't about health only. It was about control, agency, and taking the leap.
This whole episode was basically, your future self is real, and your body is responsive.
Exactly. No magical age cutoff, just compounding effort and smarter choices every day.
All right, I feel like we need to go lift something heavy and stop thinking about tomorrow me.
Yeah, because tomorrow me is just a fictional character, right?
Exactly, and the whole point is your body is not waiting. It adapts daily.
And she kept hammering, the real anti-aging move is muscle preservation.
But the way most people diet, they lose muscle first, then metabolism gets worse.
Wait, losing 25 to 50% muscle from calorie restriction? That's brutal.
And then when you come off it, weight regains is mostly fat. Hello, yo-yo.
Yo-yo dieting is basically training for disappointment with extra steps.
The frame shift she offered is recomposition. Lose fat, gain muscle as you go.
That also explains why the scale can lie while clothes fit better.
Muscle is nature's Spanx, and I will not be taking questions.
I mean, it's science plus vanity, which is my favorite combo.
But what really stuck is her you can be as in shape at 45 as 25 idea.
She used athletes as evidence. Tom Brady, Ronaldo, discipline and routines.
The difference isn't genetics alone, it's recovery, nutrition monitoring, and structured training.
Also, her point about two players look the same at 35, then one slides.
And suddenly he looks 15 years older because the basics got neglected.
That's the anti-romance message. It's not one miracle, it's compound boredom resistance.
She even connected it to sugar psychology, dopamine, willpower fatigue, cravings.
And she's like, people will do everything except eliminate simple sugar.
Because it feels immediate, and the consequences feel distant, temporal disconnect.
Temporal disconnect is such a clean explanation. Invest for a future you don't emotionally care about.
Which is why burgers are persuasive and long-term health is boring.
Boring doesn't sell, but neither does calcium loss until it does.
She flipped it, though. Make it feel good today. Walking, lifting, badass afterglow.
If the reward shows up right after training, your brain shuts up sooner.
And then we go deeper. Sedentary aging excuses don't kick in until the mid-70s.
She said slowing down significantly by athletic performance is basically mid-70s?
That's her data from Masters athletes, speed, finish times, and the pattern after 70.
So the real villain is biology taking over when you stop mobilizing and training.
I liked the mental agility piece, too. Mobility isn't just physical, it's cognitive.
She had studies tying chronic activity to decision speed and perceived physical capability.
And then there's clotho, the longevity protein. Exercise increases it through muscle contraction.
I love when aging becomes less mystical and more your muscles are sending signals.
Which leads to her stem cell idea. Muscle contraction rejuvenates satellite cells in old mice.
2 weeks, twice a day, and the stem cells look healthy and active again. Wild.
It reframes fountain of youth as fountain of work.
Fountain of work should be on a gym hoodie, honestly.
But then she moved to another mechanism, bone. Impact exercise predicts bone density.
Yeah, impact like running sports versus swimming or biking. Bowling even has a category.
And she basically said impact stimulation is as predictive as age and genetics.
So the bone doesn't care about our intentions, it cares about mechanical stress.
Then she got technical but practical. DEXA T-scores, osteopenia, osteoporosis at 2.5.
And Frax risk combined with T-score tells who needs meds, not vibes.
The main takeaway, don't ignore low T-score and hope it goes away.
She also said you can rebuild bone. Lifting and impact can increase T-score.
Plus mobility, hydration of the system. Okay, I'm summarizing, but the theme is stimulus.
Then, menopause. She made it sound like estrogen loss is a whole body systems shift.
She said 80% of women in perimenopause experience musculoskeletal syndrome of menopause.
40% of the time imaging is normal, but people still feel wrecked.
That I'm falling apart fear is so real when doctors can't see a structural issue.
And her examples, total body arthralgia and frozen shoulder tie to inflammation.
Frozen shoulder is inflammatory early, then capsular shrinkage later, so you must move it quickly.
Also the hook your bra test. She weaponized humor for clinical utility.
The larger claim was, estrogen receptors exist across muscle, tendon, bone, cartilage, and fat.
And she connected estrogen to osteoclast control, so without it, breakdown can outpace rebuilding.
That's why weight gain, inflammation, and muscle loss compound into osteosarcobesity.
That word is terrifying and somehow clarifying.
Her remedy was structured. Estrogen decision based on science, mobility via heavy lifting, cardio base plus sprints.
And nutrition. Protein per ideal body pound, plus leucine emphasis, whey as a high leucine source.
Fiber for complex carbs and microbiome stability. Avoid simple sugar spikes.
She said her own glucose monitor showed she spikes with simple carbs, like she can't even look at them.
That is such a data geek way to be personally offended by bread.
And then she ended on VO2 max and the fragility line, frailty risk curve.
VO2 max training as a ladder. Maintain it with short, brutal intervals occasionally after basics are nailed.
The anti-guilt plan, optimize health first, then add the torture topping.
I think the shared theme with your discipline talk was the why has to be emotionally alive.
And friction is real. Gym location, embarrassment, delays, so design your environment.
Your whole foundation change during the pandemic point was basically the investment thesis in fitness.
Health is the base layer for everything else, business, family, relationships, all of it.
Then she leaves you with the last piece, uncomfortable risk, building private practice, taking the leap.
That's the closing loop. Health, then courage, then agency. Same engine.
So yeah, let's go lift something heavy and prove her right one more time.
Agreed. Before we start negotiating with future self again.
Welcome back to round 2 of this series, ending with the idea that your body responds.
And it responds to muscle, movement, protein, and consistency. No magic, just compounding.
Thanks for hanging with us, and we'll see you on the next one.
Until then, train today like it's a vote for your future self.
Welcome back. This episode ties muscle preservation, sugar psychology, and bone longevity into one anti-yo-yo playbook.
We also go deep on menopause, musculoskeletal impacts, plus why today choices quietly decide decades outcomes. Yo, the muscle thing is actually brutal. Calorie restriction without rebuilding sounds like self-sabotage.
She made it sound so deterministic. Lose 25 to 50% muscle, then gain back mostly fat.
Yeah, because muscle is the glucose sink, so you're basically shrinking your metabolism's capacity.
Translation: you diet like a monk, then your body refunds you in the worst possible currency.
She said recomposing is the frame, and honestly, that's the cheat code nobody wants to hear.
The "it's not weight, it's composition" line hits, because the mirror lies differently than the scale.
And the clothes fit thing, nature's Spanx, come on, that's marketing and truth in one sentence.
I love when science shows up in punchy metaphors because then people actually do it.
What I really liked is how she attacked the yo-yo loop psychologically, not just nutritionally.
Right, because people can know and still fail, so the block is inside that little 5.5 inches in your head.
Temporal disconnect. She basically took the banking concept and smuggled it into dieting habits.
And the idea is you don't care about future you, so you bargain with yourself for tiny dopamine wins now.
That's why she keeps pushing rewards you feel after lifting, badass energy, not someday fulfillment.
I mean, incentives work, sure, but willpower also matters, right? Or is it all conditioning and brain wiring?
She wasn't saying no willpower. She was saying sugar addiction hijacks it so early you're fighting a losing battle.
The sugar detox story, day 4 you're staring at the cupboard like, why am I here, is extremely real.
Like your brain is basically a toddler demanding cookies for breakfast, with zero negotiation skills.
And then she says she's not anti-carbs, she's anti-simple sugar, which is such a more mature stance.
Her glycemic logic made sense. Spike blood glucose, pancreas releases insulin, excess gets stored as fat.
Plus the glycation thing, caramelizing proteins, she made it feel like your body is being overcooked.
And inflammation as the common pathway. Chronic disease as the downstream plot twist.
But the frustrating part for listeners is, gyms are easy. It's the sugar and the excuses that get people.
Exactly. I'll do everything else. And then she drops the bomb. Eliminate simple sugar and suddenly excuses hatch.
Then she connects it to VO2 max and the frailty line, which is such a killer framing for cardio.
VO2 max as independence insurance. Like, you're not training for marathons, you're training to stay functional at home.
But she's very confident with numbers. 18 for men, 16 for women. Do you buy it fully?
I buy the direction. Not that I'm a calibrated instrument at 18. The vibe is, test your baseline, train intelligently.
And the 4 minutes hard, 4 minutes recover once a week. Torture light, but still structured.
I love that she layers it after you've done lifting and zone 2, not before. No random chaos cardio.
The full anti-yo-yo stack was lift heavy for muscle, zone 2 base, sprint bursts, smart anti-inflammatory nutrition.
And bone health was the other pillar. DEXA, T-score, FRAX. She actually made the testing less scary.
Mother's milk is whey, as a leucine justification was wild and oddly persuasive.
Leucine as the mTOR trigger, whey as the dense delivery system. This is the nerdy part that makes the plan actionable.
Still, people hate the protein math. Gram per ideal pound sounds like homework.
True, but it's at least concrete, unlike vague eat clean advice.
The menopause segment was the emotional gut punch, though, because she framed musculoskeletal suffering as real and common.
80% experience it, and 40% get imaging that shows nothing, so they're treated like it's in their heads.
The musculoskeletal syndrome of menopause, estrogen receptors everywhere, so inflammation control and tissue maintenance actually change.
Frozen shoulder explanation was also wild. Pain first, then capsule shrinkage, and it can take 2 years.
And she's basically saying, don't wait for it to go away, get it moving so it doesn't lock up.
The bra hook test being a thing made me laugh, but also felt like, finally, a clinical tool people will remember.
Her point about estrogen being anabolic for muscle protein synthesis, plus satellite cells dropping 30 to 60%, that's why women feel like they're deteriorating overnight.
Estrogen is the anti-inflammatory thermostat, and then perimenopause turns the thermostat into chaos.
And then she tied bone. Estrogen moderates osteoclasts, otherwise breakdown outruns building.
Also the osteosarcobesity concept, bone loss, muscle loss, fat gain stacking together, 3 times the morbidity.
That's why one thing fixes it, plans fail, because all tissues talk to each other.
Then the remedy sounded like a sequence. Estrogen decision based on science, lift heavy for mobility, base cardio plus sprints, remove simple sugar.
She's pretty intense about hormone replacement, and I get it, but listeners need to treat that as medical decision-making, not DIY confidence.
Yes, like her message wasn't everyone do X. It was have the conversation and use evidence, not myths.
And the mindset piece at the end, being around to bug her daughter until 97, that's a why you can live inside.
That lines up with your discipline equation talk. Strong why, fun pursuit, low friction.
Pandemic Health Foundation arc, COVID outcomes correlate with pre-existing health. Yeah, that rewired a lot of people.
It's funny because she's not even selling fear, she's selling agency. Choose today like it matters for decades.
The final uncomfortable risk question was perfect because it mirrors the health theme, leaving comfort and committing anyway.
He said it best. Academia safety net to private practice, and confidence you build from experience, not luck.
And that last line, replacing mind viruses with constructive ideas, basically the same mechanism as habit change.
So the engine is consistent. Health, then courage, then agency, same engine, different domain.
All right, time to close this thing. Let's go lift something heavy and prove her right one more time.
Agreed. Before we start negotiating with future self again.
Thanks for hanging with us through both episodes. Your body responds to muscle, movement, protein, and consistency.
Build the habit today like it's a vote for your future self.
We'll catch you next time. Go do something small, slightly uncomfortable, and repeat tomorrow.
Welcome back. This final episode, we pulled the thread on fat loss, muscle preservation, and the anti-yo-yo playbook.
We also got deep on why simple sugar and wait until later thinking sabotage longevity, plus menopause and bone health.
The muscle preservation bit is wild, like dieting alone nukes your muscle.
And then people wonder why they regain 80% fat after the diet ends, right?
Exactly. It becomes yo-yo because you keep losing more muscle each cycle.
Her framing of recomposing is so much cleaner than obsessing over scale weight.
Muscle is nature's Spanx, like the clothes argument but backed by physiology.
That line should be on billboards, honestly.
But what I loved is she's not saying ignore weight. She's saying composition is the real scoreboard.
And she keeps hammering the same truth. Muscle is a glucose sink.
Translation: fewer muscle cells, less metabolic clearance, more chaos later.
I want people to hear this and stop doing the calorie restrict, hope pray lifestyle.
Yes! And then she ties it to real aging, like, you can be as in shape as 25 at 45 if you train smart.
The Ronaldo versus teammate visual was a dagger. Discipline changes your perceived age fast.
The whole late 30s looking same, then one guy lets go part. Psychology meets routine.
That's where I disagree with the romantic notion of motivation as the key.
Go on, because I think she actually agrees with you, but carry it.
It's not find motivation, it's build a system with low friction and repeatable inputs.
Friction kills, right? Gym distance, embarrassment, boring routines. Everything she said screams that.
Also, her temporal disconnect idea is chef's kiss. People only care about today's self.
Which is like banking fraud, but for your health.
Exactly. Invest tomorrow never comes.
She basically says, make today feel good by choosing the reward loop. Walking, lifting, mobility.
And she's right that willpower is fragile, but creating pleasure through training is robust.
I did hear a tiny risk in her approach, though. When people hear eliminate simple sugar, they panic.
Yeah, the no carbs ever crowd is always lurking behind these messages.
She was super clear. Carbs are fine. Fiber-filled carbs are fine. It's the simple sugar spikes that are the villain.
That villain label matters because the pancreas and insulin system can't remove spikes at infinite speed.
Plus, the glycosylation inflammation angle, caramelizing proteins, makes it feel less abstract.
And she used the give people a glucose monitor and they see reality trick.
Her sourdough exception was hilarious. I added it because I'm sensitive, not because she's weak.
That's actually the balanced version of behavior change. Optimize, don't cosplay sainthood.
Then she went full bones and muscles talk to each other with osteoporosis thresholds.
I liked how she explained T-scores like the bell curve from a 30-year-old baseline, not mysticism.
And the FRAX piece, T-score plus risk factors, to decide lifestyle versus medication.
The only pushback I'd want listeners to keep in mind, drugs aren't moral failures, they're tools.
Exactly. And she framed it as an individualized risk assessment, not fear-driven blanket advice.
The impact exercise beats swimming for bone study was also super intuitive.
Yeah, bone density loves drama. Mechanical stimulus, then your body lays down new bone.
And she made it feel doable. Lift, impact safely, add mobility, don't ignore the numbers.
Her no excuse until mid-70s claim using performance slowing was spicy.
Mid-70s is way later than people think. Like mentally, we quit early.
Her point was biology starts taking over after you stop investing daily.
And then she linked exercise to clotho, that longevity protein. Pretty compelling arc.
I loved that she didn't just drop names, she tied it back to muscle contraction stimulating clotho-transcription.
She basically said, your body thinks you're reinvesting, so it builds longevity signals.
I do want people to remember, correlation isn't fate, but the behavior prescription still holds.
Right. Whether or not every pathway pans out the way we think, strength and activity still drive outcomes.
And the rat stem cell story was wild. 2 weeks, treadmill, satellite cells behaving young again.
That is the cleanest fountain of youth argument I've ever heard in workout terms.
Then we hit the menopause segment, and it got real. Musculoskeletal syndrome, estrogen receptors everywhere.
The stat that 80% of women experience it is terrifying if nobody tells them what's happening.
And the part about 40% of the time imaging is nothing structurally wrong, so people assume they're imagining it.
Exactly. The doctor says nothing is broken, trap. Then women gaslight themselves.
Her explanation of inflammation, cytokines, and estrogen's anti-inflammatory role made the symptoms legible.
I also appreciated this practical stuff. Frozen shoulder stages and why moving quickly matters.
The bra hook test, scientific branding right there.
And the huge remedy framework, estrogen decision with science, then mobility through lifting heavy.
She's like, stop doing pink weight cardio fantasies. Lift heavy within what your bones allow.
I wish more people heard the progression idea. Start light if needed, but you must progress to stimulus.
Plus the cardio prescription, zone 2 base, then short hard sprints, VO2 max and frailty line protection.
VO2 max numbers and 10% decline per decade is a reality slap in a helpful way.
Only 3 times a week, 4 minutes hard, sounds almost unfairly doable.
Gym torture with a timer, I respect it.
And the final psychological glue was the 97-year-old why. Control your future self by caring about your present inputs.
That's discipline equation stuff. Strong why, reduce friction, and give yourself psychological reward.
Her entrepreneurship risk at 57 was the same theme, leaving comfort to become the person who acts daily.
Which matches everything she taught. Comfort pursuit is slow death, investment is the plan.
So if there's one takeaway for listeners, it's stop waiting for a future health crisis to start training.
Build muscle, feed your metabolism, move for longevity, and make today count.
Cool. So we're done with this episode. And honestly, this whole series changed how we talk about aging.
Thanks for hanging with us through both episodes. Go do something small, slightly uncomfortable, and repeat tomorrow.
And before you negotiate with your future self, lift something heavy, prove her right, then go eat like an adult. Welcome back. Wrap-up episode vibes, but we're still sprinting mentally.
We dug into muscle preservation, why yo-yo dieting backfires, and the estrogen-driven mechanics of menopause.
And the big through line was, you don't age, you decondition, or you don't.
That recomposing frame was so refreshing because it turns weight into a side quest.
Yeah, muscle is nature's Spanx is the least scientific sentence ever said. And yet I agree.
It's also psychologically perfect. People care about clothes fitting, not DXA scan numbers.
But I do want to push. Does it ever confuse folks like I can ignore calories forever?
No, because the recomposition idea still depends on doing the work consistently, especially lifting and protein.
And the metabolic point was brutal. Extreme calorie restriction burns muscle, not just fat.
The yo-yo loop is basically lose muscle, gain fat back, and then people blame themselves like it's a moral failing.
I will simply have more discipline is the most expensive coping mechanism in the world.
Exactly. She said it's temporal disconnect, like banking your health for future you, but future you is a stranger.
Wait, so how do you defeat that stranger problem psychologically?
You make the future you emotionally real. Her 97-year-old goal tied to her daughter is wild and effective.
That's the best life hack. Turn aging later into someone you love needs you.
And it wasn't just mindset. She backed it with physiology. Muscle as a glucose sink, bone responding to impact, recovery matters.
The recovery part clicked for me, too. Older athletes aren't out there for 4 hours anymore. They're smarter.
She basically described max min workouts, maximum quality per minute, then recovery as part of training.
Okay, but sugar. She went pretty hard on simple sugar is the hardest to give up. True, but carbs get demonized.
She wasn't anti-carbs. She was anti-high glycemic processed sugar. Fiber-forward carbs are a totally different league.
I love how she calls it, the excuses come out when you say eliminate simple sugar.
That's the real battle. People can tolerate workouts, but no juice feels like identity theft.
And she had the data point vibe, continuous glucose monitor, being sensitive to simple carbs even just looking at them.
I can't even look at simple carbs and it spikes is both hilarious and terrifying.
But is the lesson? Test yourself, then adjust, instead of adopting a religion.
Yes, that's why the approach felt empowering, not shaming. Use instruments. Learn your patterns.
The menopause segment was the one where I felt my brain recalibrate hard.
Same. She turned "I'm falling apart" into a named condition, musculoskeletal syndrome of menopause.
Wait, 80% experience it? And 40% have imaging that shows nothing structurally wrong? That's heartbreaking.
That's the whole problem. People think pain without scans equals it's in your head, when it's estrogen regulation plus inflammation.
Your shoulder hurts, but the MRI is bored. That's a terrible system.
Frozen shoulder is basically a delayed gratification for inflammation is not a quote, but it should be.
Her explanation of the capsule shrinking over time made the injury feel less mysterious and more mechanical.
And the estrogen angle connected the dots. Bone building versus osteoclast control, cartilage protection, muscle protein synthesis.
She also reframed weight gain as part biology, part friction. Less muscle means less shock absorption, more joint load.
I'm slightly cautious, though. Estrogen replacement decisions are individual, and not every story is hers.
Agreed. Science-based doesn't mean one size, but it absolutely means stop relying on fear myths.
And then she gave a practical anti-frail plan. Lift heavy, do base cardio, add sprint work, and build VO2 max resilience.
The VO2 max fragility line idea, like you're planning for independence, not performance trophies.
She made it about staying able to live alone, not about looking ripped at 35.
Honestly, that's a better why than beach body. It makes training feel like self-respect.
And she kept stressing, it's daily investment, not monumental pivot at 50 or 60.
The I'll start then plan is always sponsored by delusion and lower back pain.
Exactly. She said it's compounding. Tiny changes now beat rebuilding later when you're depleted.
Quick one. How do you translate this into something actionable for normal people listening?
Make today easier to choose, reduce friction, then attach reward. After lifting heavy, you feel badass immediately.
So the reward is not someday, it's like dopamine on demand but earned.
And for friction, you build habits like a lifestyle. Gym routines became consistent for you after COVID thinking, right?
Yeah, seeing health as the foundation made it non-negotiable. Everything else sat on top of it.
That's the discipline equation in real life. Strong why, lower friction, more psychological reinforcement.
And I loved her discomfort risk question too, leaving the hospital's safety net to build her own practice.
At 57, that's genuinely intimidating risk. But it matches the philosophy. Stop waiting for comfort to save you.
Her whole life is basically future-proof your present, whether it's business or muscles.
And that's why this series hits. Aging isn't passive, it's a set of daily choices.
If listeners steal one thing, stop treating health like a future project.
Build muscle, protect metabolism, move for longevity, and make today count.
Cool, so we're done with this episode. And honestly, this whole series changed how we talk about aging.
Thanks for hanging with us through both episodes. Go do something small, slightly uncomfortable, and repeat tomorrow.
And before you negotiate with your future self, lift something heavy, prove her right.
Then go eat like an adult your joints will remember.